James English versus Shauna Snyder. All right, this is a termination of tenancy case, and folks, what's going on?
We moved her in because she was getting evicted from her other residence. Her husband moved out on her, and we allowed her to move in without no lot rent, no fees. And she come out one morning and started taking pictures of me, implied that I was stalking her. I feel uncomfortable with her being there.
Okay. All right. What's the relationship between the parties? Any?
She's the daughter of friend of my wife.
That's why we allowed her.
Hold on a second. Okay, so who are you?
I'm his wife. I'm also on lease. That's why we allowed her to move in. We're trying to help her out. She's been there 3 months.
Okay, hold on. Just
A physical altercation.
all right. So, still trying to figure
It's
this
just
out.
a bad situation all the way around.
Okay, that's not what I was going to ask. Who is she related to?
She is my daughter.
Thank you. That's a simple answer I was looking for. All right. So your daughter moved in because you got evicted from your other residence. Is that correct, ma'am?
That's not correct.
Okay. So what happened?
I was living at another residence with my husband at the time, and he was abusive with me, so I had to separate from him, and then he left the house. He was being evicted. I wasn't on a lease at all. But
Got it.
I was gonna put on there, and then they allowed me to come with them and stay for, I said it was just temporary. I just needed like a little temporary. I wasn't gonna be there forever. I just needed to figure out,
What you were going to do?
yeah, because what I was gonna do got messed up, like with everything, and
Okay. And
then
go ahead.
he has been very inappropriate, the way he acts around me. I can't even take a shower in that house. I can't do laundry. I always have to have my phone because I don't feel comfortable.
Okay.
And then she called the cops on me after that and said, "You're not locking my husband up, B word." I got
Okay.
that on recording.
Okay.
That day.
All right. So, but you don't have a lease there, correct?
No, I don't. I don't want to
Okay.
stay there either. You
Okay.
know that.
So when did, ma'am? So when are you going to leave?
As soon as I can. I was thinking the first is probably the soonest I can.
Did you bring a lot of property with you?
I have a bunch of it in storage, and I have a bunch in that room in that house. And I have a dog and a cat, and they know that. It's really hard to find like a room to rent with pets, and they want
Okay,
$1,000 a month for a room.
I gotcha. So when do you folks want her out?
They,
Okay, that's not happening.
yeah,
What's a reasonable time for her to get out of the premise from your perspective?
7 days.
Okay, by law, she at least gets 10.
Okay, she get 10.
What's the attitude with this? I mean, you guys moved her in. You realize the circumstance, at least she's saying that she was in, and you got to give her time to move out. You let her move her stuff in.
We did, but we wasn't expecting for her to start calling me a stalker and all that. I feel uncomfortable with her in my house now.
What would be a reasonable period in your mind for her to move?
10 days.
Okay, you guys can maybe sit there and think about what you're doing. Whether you like family or not, you got to deal with it that way. You let her move in. So think about a reasonable time for her to get out. You've had to go through this. I don't want to hear from you right now. because I'm gonna get up and leave this bench because I'm not happy with any of you.
Are you
You
speaking?
figured what did I just say?
That's
What did I just say? Court's gonna stand in recess.
All right. One minute he wants you to speak.
You wanna know what? You wanna know what? You're gonna be in contempt and you're gonna go. You are not even a named party on this case. You might wanna go out there and sit down. Go out there and sit down.
No.
Now,
No problem.
now, go.
It's your jacket.
Just go. One more word and you're out of here. One more word.
No problem, ma'am. Hey, don't think you go, okay? Okay, now you can turn.
Yep. Okay. Go!
Will you hand me my screen box?
Now go. Freak! Rah!
We're back on the record in the case of English versus Snyder, and both parties are here. And I'm just going to try to resolve this because apparently the parties can't do it themselves. And I'm not going to try to use whatever water under the bridge. You're saying you want to the first.
Yes, please.
You are saying, sir, that you want a statutory times 10 days and you're stuck on the 10 days.
No, she can stay to the first, it's just as long as she agrees to get out.
Okay. I appreciate that. All right. And that's a reasonable way to handle this. So what I'm going to do is a termination case. I'm going to grant a judgment for possession after hearing on this case. The writ date, July 1. Okay. Now, so they can act so that both parties understand this, okay? On July 1, they can file what's called an order of eviction or request for an order of eviction to have you forcibly removed from the premises. I don't think you want to put anybody into that.
No,
Just-
I'm not even trying to get evicted. I don't have any evictions on my record.
Okay. You have to file with the court, sir, a judgment form, and you have to fill that out for my signature. Okay, so you can, I'll get you guys out of here. You can pick one up at the counter, file it with the court. I'll sign off on it. All right, that will give her until July 1 to vacate the premises. All right. Anybody unclear as to that? All right.
I'm not.
You're clear.
I'm clear.
Okay. For you, sir, I'm going to tell you because what you don't want to do, and you may want to inform your wife of this, is to in any way, prior to that date, try to do anything that looks like it's your own self-help in terms of getting her out. Okay?
Right.
Okay?
But she's still not allowed to have company over, right? She's in the past.
Okay, look, that's not before me.
Okay.
I can't, I do a lot to rule people's lives. I can't tell who's going to be, I'm not going there. Okay.
All right.
The only thing I can tell you is that as of that day, that's that. Okay. Now, I'll give a suggestion while I can't order it. Okay, young lady, how old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay. You can like your parents, you can not like your parents, you can not do whatever. But when things got bad, that was somebody that gave you a roof over your head.
And
Okay. And so it doesn't mean you even have to talk to them. But I think it's sometimes important, and I think I'll call you a kid because you are somebody's kid, right?
Right.
That these days, sometimes they're just not respectful of that. So while I'm not ordering it, I just say to you, just be respectful. They don't want you
I've
to
been
have,
trying to be, and like the whole time I've been there, followed all the rules. And they let me have one person over, only one person per company, and then they took it back after all that. They're like trying to.
Okay.
I
Well,
ended up
but
going over
okay, I get it. But this, you know, what you guys are telling me are what parents and kids have been dealing with forever, right? And so when my daughter stays with me, I can tell you she's thinking I'm changing. I'm thinking to myself, that's what I said all along. But from her perspective, I'd let this happen and then I changed something. I didn't change anything in my view, but I get it. Okay. So, just do it and try to work through it. Okay.
I'm trying.
Okay. And the same thing for you. Just try to work through it. Sometimes it's better if all of a sudden at one given moment you want to say something, just don't say anything. Count to whatever. Just don't say anything. And then maybe 30 seconds down the road, you're not quite as unhappy about it. You just try to figure it out. Okay?
You say I gotta get some kind of form?
Yeah, you got to get paperwork. Ask them for a judgment form.
Judgment.
At the front counter. All right. Then you just got to fill that out and everything. Okay?
All right, thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. So I can trust that you two will walk out of here peacefully and not
I won't knock her.
go at it in the hallway. Huh?
No,
Either just can you two walk out peacefully, or do I have to have
With him.
escorts?
just
All right.
right there.
Then here you go, and you sit there. You sit there, and then we'll get you out. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Next case, State of Kansas versus Sydney Taylor Leslie, 25 CR 250. Good
Yes, Your Honor.
afternoon, Miss Leslie. Miss Leslie, you're charged by way of information on or about May 21, 2025 in Butler County, Kansas, with interference with law enforcement, a Class A non-person misdemeanor. Count 2, same date and location, no proof of insurance, a Class B non-person misdemeanor. Same date and location. Count 3, no driver's license in possession, an unclassified non-person misdemeanor. Then count 4, same date and location, failure to register vehicle, an unclassified non-person misdemeanor. And Miss Leslie, do you understand the charges pending against you?
I comprehend the alleged charges against me.
Thank you, Miss Leslie. Miss Leslie, you do have the right to counsel if you cannot afford an
Excuse me.
attorney. Pardon me?
Excuse me, I was going to say that I comprehend the certain statutory allegations that have been made against me, but I cannot and do not admit to understanding or accepting the jurisdiction of this court over my person or the subject matter absent proof of corpus delicti and a verified complainant from an injured party. To do so would constitute a waiver of fundamental rights, which I explicitly refuse to waive pursuant to KSA subsection 60-212 and the doctrine of special appearance recognized in Kansas jurisprudence.
Okay. You do have the right to counsel if you cannot afford an attorney. One would be appointed to represent you. And Miss Leslie, are you currently employed?
For the record, Your Honor, just to start from the beginning, I, Sydney Taylor Leslie, appearing specially and not generally in propria persona, sui juris, as a living woman and not as a legal fiction or corporate entity. I reserve all rights without prejudice pursuant to KSA subsection 84-1-308 and UCC 1-308. Let the record reflect that my appearance today is under explicit protest and duress and solely for the purpose of challenging jurisdiction and preserving my unalienable rights as secured by the Constitution for the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of Kansas. And Your Honor, before these proceedings advance further, I must respectfully challenge this court's jurisdiction in toto and move for immediate dismissal of all charges. I hereby invoke the burden-shifting doctrine established in State v. Shepard in 2009 and State v. Seams in 2004, which places the affirmative burden upon the prosecution to establish by sworn non-hearsay allegations within the four corners of a valid charging instrument that every element of the alleged offense and my commission thereof has been properly established. The threshold matter of jurisdiction must be adjudicated prior to any other proceedings, as articulated in Ex parte Young in 1908 and recognized by the Kansas Supreme Court. Jurisdiction is the fundamental prerequisite to all jurisdictional proceedings. The legal maxim ex injuria just non autora, law does not arise from injustice, applies to these proceedings in their entirety.
Okay, and the court finds that Miss Leslie is appearing as a sovereign citizen before the court, and the court once again.
I object to any of that derogatory. It's very biased. I move for immediate dismissal on those grounds and
Court
disqualification.
Court overrules the motion for dismissal of the case. Court overrules dismissal of the
prejudice
case.
And
the court will find that Miss Leslie, that the court does find it has jurisdiction to proceed, and subsequently the court sets your next appearance date.
You called me a sovereign citizen. I object. You called me a sovereign citizen.
Yes, ma'am.
That is prejudice and bias.
You serious?
No prejudice or bias is asserted as to yourself. However, the court, as opposed to trying to write down docket notes to that effect, is just recognizing what you are advising the court, that the court has no jurisdiction over you, and based on your statement made to the court. Subsequently, the court does find you've posted a $3,000 cash bond. $3,000 cash bond has been made. Court does accept the same, and the court does schedule this matter next before Judge Webster on Monday, August 11, 2025 at 9 a.m. Monday, August 11, 2025, 9 a.m. before Judge Webster. Once again, Monday, August 11, 2025, 9 a.m. before Judge Webster. You do need to participate by Zoom process at that point. Subsequently, the court finds that Miss Leslie has not requested court-appointed counsel. Court does not appoint counsel at this point. The court does find that she has posted bond in the amount of $3,000 cash, $3,000 cash bond, and the court has scheduled her next appearance date before Judge Webster on Monday, August 11, 2025 at 9 a.m. Any other matters to come before the court, Mr. Sweeney?
No, Your Honor.
And Miss Leslie?
Your Honor, my jurisdictional challenge is predicated upon multiple independent grounds, each sufficient to warrant dismissal. First, I challenge personal jurisdiction pursuant to Kansas Rule of Civil Procedure. I appear specially, not generally, and have not consented to this court's jurisdiction. The record before this court is devoid of evidence establishing proper jurisdiction over my person as a living woman rather than a legal fiction or corporate entity, as distinguished in Hale v. Hinkle in 1906, and recognizing Kansas jurisprudence. Second, I challenge subject matter jurisdiction pursuant to Kansas Rule of Civil Procedure 60-212, B1. No verified complainant from any injured party has been filed as required by KSA subsection 22-2301 in Butler County Local Rule 3.1. The perpetrated charges arise from actions of agents of the state acting under a color of law, not from a legitimate controversy between adversarial parties withstanding as required by Article 3 jurisprudential principles adopted by Kansas Courts in State ex rel. Morrison versus Celebius. Third, I challenge territorial jurisdiction. The alleged incident occurred after I had ceased operating my conveyance and was exercising my unalienable right to travel, placing it outside the territorial jurisdiction of traffic enforcement under KSA subsection 8-244, which by its plain language applies only to licensees who have voluntarily entered the regulatory framework. Fourth, the prosecution cannot establish the corpus delicti of the alleged offenses. As held by the Kansas Supreme Court in State v. Stern in 2015, the corpus delicti rule serves as a safeguard against convictions based on false confessions or statements. One cannot interfere with a peace officer absent of officer's lawful execution of duties. Where the initial detention was unlawful, as it was here due to lack of probable cause, there can be no derivative crime or of interference. Fifth, the refusal to provide identification is not a crime in Kansas, absent specific statutory circumstances not present here today. This is in support by Brown versus Texas in 1979. The Supreme Court held that detaining a person solely to obtain identification violates the Fourth Amendment absent reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. The principle has been recognized and applied by Kansas courts. In one moment, please, while I gather another statement. Okay, and another thing is, and this is, may it please the court, for the record, I must now enter an oral objection and motion for disqualification of the presiding judicial officer pursuant to Kansas Rule 2.11 of the Code of Judicial Conduct, as well as controlling principles under the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. During a prior proceeding, specifically, this court referred to me by the term sovereign citizen, a pejorative classification which carries with its government manufactured implications of extremism, frivolous, and legal irrelevance. This label, unprovoked and unsupported by any factual predicate, constitutes a stigmatizing judicial characterization that violates my right to a neutral and detached tribunal. The use of that term demonstrates either a prejudiced bias or a judicial predisposition toward delegating the substance of my legal posture. As the Kansas Supreme Court has held, even the appearance of partially mandates recusal, and here the record reflects actual prejudice in open court. Wherefore, I respectfully move this honorable court to dismiss all charges with prejudice for lack of jurisdiction, issue a finding that the prosecution has failed to meet its burden of establishing jurisdiction, order the immediate return of all my property seized, including the 251 USD, confiscated and converted to a reloadable Visa card without my consent, order the expungement and permanent sealing of every associated record pursuant to KSA subsection 22-2410, award compensation for the full measure of damages sustained, including costs for my automobile window repair, bail costs, and compensation for unlawful detention and deprivation of liberty, grant such and other and further relief as this court deems just and proper. The breaking of my automobile window without warrant or probable cause of a search and confiscation of my currency constitutes violations of clearly established rights for which the law provides remedies pursuant to the maxim ubi jus ibi ridium, where there is a right, there is a remedy. I reserve all rights without prejudice, waive none, and maintain my special appearance for the sole purpose of challenging jurisdiction and preserving my alienable rights as secured by the Constitution for the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of Kansas. And thank you for hearing me. I do appreciate you, Your Honor, and thank you for your time.
And once again, matter is set before Judge Webster on Monday, August 11, 2025, 9 a.m. by Zoom. There being nothing further to come before the court, court is in recess, and have a good day, Miss Leslie.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my God.
You have got to be kidding me. What is going on today? This is a joke. Today is an interpreter.
I need an interpreter when I cannot express myself somewhere.
Oh my God, sir, put that cigarette out. I don't give a crap that you are outside of this. What is wrong with everybody today? You know what, Miss Reed, we're gonna start bringing people in first. We're gonna learn how to act in a courtroom.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Ma'am? Ma'am, can you hear it?
No.
Okay.
Trust me, at the end of the day, I'm sitting up here, I'm the one that needs a drink.